It's the Morning Brew with Elle Dawson and Gillian Robertson. Brought to you by Fight Bananas.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. What is going on, Gillian?
Some pretty good fights from Canada last night. I will say, I think that when they go to other countries, they're a little bit more biased. That some of the Canadians had some pretty tough matchups last night.
You know, they actually did. I feel like it was, I don't think there were necessarily other options, though, because I think sometimes when they go to other countries and everybody gets just like super favorable matchups, it's because a lot of them are maybe not super high up in the rankings. And so they can kind of do that. Jasmine, for example, like Jasudavicius, she is in a position where there are no easy matchups left for her. She's right there. And I do think she had a lot of potential to win this fight. Sometimes you zig when you should have zagged and like you just get caught. I thought she was looking pretty good for the 45 seconds we got to see her, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I think the same thing for Mike Malott. He's kind of in a position where maybe for him, he's a little bit further down the rankings than Jasmine. They could have given him a more favorable matchup, but he did end up getting it done, even though very weird fight that we'll address. And then Kyle Prepolak, I think, is in a tough situation.
That's the one I was going to throw out.
I mean, I think he got re-signed because they really, really needed a Canadian to jump on to fight Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm not sure the UFC wants to give him favorable matchups.
Well, then why are you giving him a featured bout against Drew Dober?
Like, probably Drew Dober.
Even that, like Drew Dober, he's kind of, I feel like he's like the testing line, like he's never going to be like making that title run, but if you can't beat him, you don't belong in the UFC. So I'm like, I feel like they should be using him, like Dober, for like prospects more than like, it's like a retirement fight for both guys, kind of.
Well, I think it was more like, I think it's more an excuse to cut Kyle Prepolak again, because I'm pretty sure he went 0-2 his first run, right?
Yeah, and he's 0-3, well, 0-4 currently.
Oh. Gee, you froze on me. Am I frozen or is she frozen? Hang on, let me take you off screen for a hot second. She's blacked out.
And
okay.
It's just, I'm like, why?
We lost you for a second there.
All right, we're back.
I was like, what did we miss? What were you trying to say?
I'm like, for a Canadian on a Canada card, why are we putting them in such a hot spot?
That's fair. It was a banger of a fight. Maybe that's why. Maybe they're like, listen, we don't really want this guy, but we can produce a fun fight at least for the fans. Maybe is what the UFC was kind of thinking there. Yeah, I'm not sure. And yeah, like Yusri looked really good. I thought Azamat was going to beat this guy. Wasn't super impressed with him coming off Dana White's Contender Series. He fought Azamat exactly how he should have fought him. And
phenomenal.
And honestly, in the first round, I felt like watching it, both guys were doing exactly what they should have been doing. Everybody was doing everything right in that first round and a half. It was just he was so big, so athletic on the cage. I think if Azamat had been able to take him down in the middle of the cage, he would have had a little bit more success with the wrestling. But Yusri just used the cage so well and then just picked apart at Azamat as the fight went on.
Oh, yeah, and the size difference was just huge in that fight. Absolutely massive. Once Yusri was able to keep, like, at his range, it was over. Like, when Azamat was able to make it a little bit of a dirtier fight at the beginning, he was kind of rushing him up against the cage with punches and getting his shots, and he was definitely winning those exchanges. But whenever Yusri was able to get his distance, it was just a completely different fight.
No, I agree. And Azamat's one of those guys, he's not undersized for 85 because I really don't think he can make 170 because he is just so conditioned. Like, even when he's not in fight shape, he is just shredded all the freaking time. I just don't know where he would lose more weight to make 170, you know? But he is a little bit shorter in the division, especially against a guy like Yusri, who's just monstrous. Like, his neck is weirdly long too. I don't know. That's not something I usually notice on people, but he has a very long neck. He's just a big dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was like, I don't know, obviously easily one of the first things to notice in the fight. I'm like, just the, like, I don't, Azamat looked very outsized in that fight.
No, I agree. And that's not new for him. I think he's looked a little bit smaller than a lot of the guys he's fought. But it just, we will definitely get to this co-main event here really soon. We messed up. I tried to talk about the main event first, but we just got right into Yusri because, yeah, he's a giant. Somebody asked me how many knockouts Drew Dober has, and I was going to look it up for you guys. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, there's a sub in there. 10 in the UFC. So I don't know if that's a record at lightweight, just because there's so many good lightweights, but that's a pretty darn good resume. Let's go. Let's talk about this main event. We can get into Cheeto and Kevin Holland and some of the weirdness that happened in the co-main event after that. A lot of weirdness in this main event. We were right before I hit the button to go live. I said to Gillian, I was like, man, I think Fluffy would have absolutely annihilated this version of RDR. And I'm kind of bummed we didn't get to see that fight. Super stoked for Brendan Allen, though. I think he showed a huge amount of growth. We haven't always seen Brendan Allen be able to come back from a super tough first round, and he absolutely weathered the storm and just broke RDR here.
Yeah, they had some time training together at Killcliff. I wonder if it was some sort of that gave Brendan Allen that little extra, like, belief in himself. Yeah, if he knows how the rounds have went in the training room, he's like, all right, he had a good first round, but just wait, like, I know when I reverse it, it's gonna be different. So, yeah, I wonder if that gave him a little bit of confidence. I will say overall, Brendan needs to work more too. I'm like, RDR didn't do enough from bottom. Obviously, he sat there in a triangling with a body triangle from bottom guard for majority of the fight, and somehow got gas doing that, which is absolutely mind blowing to me. I'm like, I understand if you're fighting even like a Marab or a Fluffy, if you're fighting one of those guys, and I don't understand it as a fighter, but I can to an extent justify it. Of those guys are putting it on you, like. You can be looking, I can understand how, like, you're drained, you're gassed, you don't want to go out for that 5th round. Even Raquel Pennington did it against Amanda Nunes, where I'm like, I can understand to an extent. I don't want to go out and get knocked out for this 5th round. But I'm like, for RDR last night, you sat in bottom guard, didn't really take a lot of damage, weren't really in any submission threats the whole time. What happened?
Yeah, I don't think this is the issue. I think it's probably, I don't think the weight cut was the problem. Yeah, he definitely is a big guy, but, and well, we have never seen him go 5 rounds. So maybe he just doesn't have the cardio to go 25 minutes in the UFC. Maybe that's the problem, but I don't think this was a weight cut issue. I think more likely it was exactly what you said, G. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think he probably knows what Brendan Allen is like on top of him. Or maybe he gets his back taken and which is why he was so just content to stay. Oh, that's true. I'm sorry. I forgot Robert Whitaker. Thank you. That's true. Very different fight, but like, yeah, no, you're right. See, I'm half asleep, but I think, did you freeze again on me? Oh no, you're good. Maybe you just had the same facial expression. I was like, did I lose G? I think it's what you're saying. I think he probably was so content to stay on his back because he didn't want Brendan Allen on his back. And so because he didn't even try to create space to get up once. There was no attempts to get up. A few half-hearted arm bars, but mostly, like you said, body triangling from bottom. There's no offense to mount from that position.
Absolutely nothing. And even at some points, he had that body triangle and was underhooking the leg. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, you're just trapping yourself more and more. I'm like, if I was Brendan Allen, I would just be capitalizing on those situations again and again, just throwing like ground and pound elbows. Like, he was just, so inactive from the bottom.
Yeah. And I think this is a perfect assessment from SG. Like, I cannot see a universe where this RDR would have beaten Fluffy Hernandez with the pace. Like you were talking about, if you fight a guy like that, you're allowed to get tired. Can you imagine the same fight with maybe a little less control, but just an insanely much higher output? I don't see a way he wins that fight.
Oh no, Fluffy would be breaking him in like 2 or 3 rounds easily. Like there's no way he would be able to handle that kind of pressure, just that kind of movement in a fight. If you're going to get gassed just holding a body triangle from guard. And it was honestly just such a letdown of a performance last night.
I agree. This card honestly was pretty awesome through the prelims and the first part of the main card. But I'm with you, Noah. I felt like that wasn't the problem. Like, is it a mental issue? Is it? It was a very different fight with Whitaker. Maybe he can't. Maybe he's the one that can't fight back from a bad position. Maybe that's the issue we're seeing with RDR. Maybe it's once he gets stuck, once he loses his momentum, it's downhill from there. I'm honestly not sure. But the first round he cut through. Like the grappling looked beautiful in the first round. I was super impressed. I saw somebody said he didn't do a lot of damage in the first round. I disagree. I think there were a lot of submission attempts. He landed some solid strikes at the end of the round. Not sure how I felt about him just like kind of jumping off the back for not a real armbar in the last 15 seconds of the round. But other than that, I have really no notes for him in that first round. He looked phenomenal to the point where I was like, oh, this is how the entire fight's going to go. And Brendan Allen saw something different. So I commend him.
Even around, I think it was round 2 and 3, he just jumped to the back almost kind of recklessly, where he was like falling off to the side whenever like he initially took it. And I'm like, I don't know. It was like reckless, poor fight IQ decisions he was making in these jiu-jitsu exchanges once it went to the second and third round versus what we saw in the first round.
Well, and I wonder if that's a little bit of a mentality issue, because we saw that he knows his position well. We saw that from the first round. We saw him very, very meticulous with when he was throwing his hooks in, when he was willing to actually try to take the back, floating beautifully on top. We saw it in the first round. So did he just think, oh, I didn't get him out of there, and now maybe the panic was set in a little bit in rounds 2 and 3, which caused him to make some worse decisions? Because obviously he has the ability. He has the grappling technical ability. But yeah, it was some very questionable positions, especially in that third round.
Well, I will say after the ending of the fight, I am questioning RDR's mentality as a whole at this point.
And I'm interested what will come out in the coming days, if we'll get like I don't want to say excuse, but like an injury excuse or something like that. But like, he wasn't saying on the stool like, oh, this hurts. Oh, that like this is wrong. Something feels off. It was just his corner just said, oh, he's just exhausted. And that's like,
you're a fighter. You're a fighter. You have to fight. It's like it's like I said, even I can understand the argument, like I said, with the Raquel Pennington situation. You have to go out there, and she did get TKO'd in the 5th round by Amanda. It's like you have to go out there, get off your stool, and go get knocked out in that 5th round. It's hard to do as a fighter. I'm like, RDR, you were just tired. It's not like you were getting beat up and like dragged through the mud and like you were just like, nah, like I can't do this. That's too rough. It's you completely just like gave up on yourself, just didn't want to do it. It's like, as a fighter, I don't know. One thing is Dana's completely like written him off at this point, like you have to show up for who you, like, we all call ourselves fighters. We all call ourselves the best in the world. You got to be able to prove it. And in moments like that, that's just eek.
We've seen guys lose their shot in the UFC doing stuff like that. Obviously not at this level and this point. I don't think he's not going to get cut, obviously, but like I think that this may be as high as RDR goes in the rankings. Like if you look at, like, I can't see, somebody in the comments said, let's do him and Dricus next. I'm fine with it, especially if you want to have an opportunity for DDP to kind of have a little comeback, because he is a superstar. DDP, and honestly, DDP maybe needs a little confidence boost after his last performance too. It kind of makes sense now. We always kind of wanted to see that fight because of the awkwardness of the styles, but DDP, if nothing else, is not a quitter. So I maybe that fight makes sense now.
No, I think it does make more sense, and I think after last night, it's like it's hard not to just lean Dricus in that matchup. Like I think that he's just going to be able to kind of essentially outwork him. Like I don't see how most fighters aren't just going to be able to work that kind of pace. Just be like, okay, we just got to outpace him, just got to make him uncomfortable, and he's gonna break. Like you kind of saw a game plan.
And I think we almost saw a little bit of the same thing from DDP against Khamzat, but at a much higher level. Like DDP didn't do a lot of the right things off his back. However, Khamzat was doing everything right. He was doing damage in the positions where DDP did give him the space to do some damage. I feel like he was a little bit too accepting on his back as well in that fight, but with less quit in him, like you said, like RDR was in bottom guard the entire fight. Like he should not have been so exhausted.
I feel like RDR, it looked like lack of fight, where DDP looked like lack of technique. DDP looked like he got caught in situations and like for some reason didn't know how to escape, or like even have any options from what's the position?
Khamzat.
Yeah, but the position that they were in. He was why can't I think of the name of it?
Now I can't either.
Crucifix. Yeah. Completely blank there. But yeah, so I don't think DDP had any options from Crucifix. I think he was kind of blank from there and was struggling for options, but was continuing to fight. Where RDR just kind of looked like he was just content sitting with the body triangle from bottom, where he wasn't looking for, I don't know, options necessarily. He wasn't trying to fight.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like even and I don't blame the commentary team because they have to, I feel like they're just trying to be nice sometimes. But like even the sub attempts he was like throwing up off his back were pretty half-hearted. Really, it was just I think an opportunity for him to look like he was maybe trying to do something like for the reverse triangle. I think there was nothing there. Like there was nothing on any attempts. Like he wasn't seriously going for an arm. He was mostly just inverting and spinning. It looked like a little break dance. But I'm with you. I'm a little disappointed, especially because the original fight for this card I was so excited for. And I'm impressed with Brendan Allen. He has a big weight cut. He did this on short notice. I think him under Bilal has been a really nice change for him. Breakdancing is exhausting, man. But yeah, I feel like we only like kind of trashed on RDR and didn't really give Allen his flowers. So I definitely want to do that here. I think he has rebuilt his like mental toughness, and maybe a lot of that was from just knowing RDR a little bit from the gym. But he did say he tended to keep his distance from RDR in the gym, knowing that they very well may fight. So maybe they didn't train together a whole lot. Well, who knows?
Yeah. Like I said, from Allen, I just would have liked to see more attempts to finish the fight, especially when you have an opponent that is mentally broken sitting in front of you. Like, you have to be taking risks. You have to be trying to do more damage, looking for subs more. So it's just, I would have seen more attempts from him to really try to get that finish. That's my only like asterisk on that fight. But Mike, if talking about asterisks on that fight and weird mentalities, Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott.
Okay. I have so many issues with this fight. The first issue I have with this fight is how can we still have so much inconsistency with refereeing? How can Drew Dober immediately get a point taken for a foul for I'm pretty sure his very first foul of the fight? How can he immediately get a point taken? Mike Malott can throw 2 back-to-back fouls that seriously stop the action and not be penalized in any way. And then how are you putting so much pressure on the fighter to make the decision? I do think there is to some extent, yes, the fighter should be able to continue if they want to continue. But if the fighter obviously is still seriously affected by an illegal blow, I think at that point, it probably is the commission, the doctor, the referee's opportunity to make that decision for them.
I guess I don't know. Cause they kept on asking him, even like in the end of the second round, the doctor came in and was like, Kevin, yes or no? I need you to say yes or no. He's like, if you don't say anything, the fight's going to continue. And then the fight continued. It's like, for Kevin Holland, well, one, I don't know if that second nut shot hit.
I watched it back like 7 times. It was his shin. His like full shin went right in that cup.
I'm like, I don't know. Just watching the angle, I'm like, it looked like maybe, like, I'm not saying he didn't get hit there, but just for it to be this big of a thing, like for him to take the full 5 minutes and then for it to still mentally be messing with him the rest of the fight. It just didn't seem like, and obviously I'm a girl here speaking, don't really have much ground.
Sorry, guys.
It looked like he hit him in the stomach and like the foot may have touched the cup, or from my point of view, where I was like confused by Kevin Holland's reaction, was almost wondering if it was something with his mentality, if like he felt something in the first, and like obviously Kevin Holland's not one to like quit on fights, but I'm like, the beginning of the first round also wasn't going his way either. I don't know. It just seemed very weird to me. It didn't seem like it didn't seem like like, I'm not saying he didn't get hit. I'm not saying he didn't deserve time, but it also didn't seem like a shot that would take 20 minutes to recover from.
It didn't look like Nathaniel Wood's fight against Naimov, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess devil's advocate is, I've heard this. Obviously, once again, we do not have balls. We are speculating, people. But I know it can also pinch, which I imagine would take longer to recover than just like blunt force trauma moving forward. Like if your cup like shifts, and it did look like it like kind of moved, his whole shin kind of moved it over. But I disagree slightly with him like losing the fight, because I thought that the momentum was starting to shift a little bit before that second nut shot. I definitely felt like Malott definitely won the first part of the round. He was landing the bigger shots, but Kevin Holland was starting to find his range. And I felt like the momentum was shifting Kevin Holland's way. And then it very abruptly stopped and shifted back to Malott after the nut shot. So I do think it very much did affect the outcome of the fight. Obviously, only Kevin Holland knows how bad his balls hurt. So we it's worse than childbirth.
Even on Malott's side, though.
No, we're freezing. No. Come back to us, Gillian. SG, you said
Obviously, like,
you're back.
I'm back?
You're back.
No?
You said we lost you on Malott's side, and then I heard nothing.
I was gonna say, I know obviously like you don't want to take advantage of like these egregious shots, but he also looked like way too Canadian after, of like, oh no, I'm going to let him recover. I'm going to give him some time, where it's like the fight's back on. Go ahead and fight now. I understand he's grabbing his nuts the whole time, but attack him. Get your TKO.
Should have been able to finish them there. I agree. And that one at that point, that is on Kevin Holland. He did make the decision to continue fighting. And I very rarely would say you shouldn't continue, but like I don't think he should have continued. If it was as bad as he made it seem, like the fight should have ended right then and there. Of course, we would have been disappointed to not get, but like we were disappointed anyway. Like because that fight should have been a pretty fun fight, bell to bell, and it wasn't because Kevin Holland wasn't really able to fight, And so I think I agree with you. I think at that point that's on you, Kevin Holland. You said you were gonna finish the fight, so you can't keep like being like, hey, stop. Like,
yeah, I'm like you said, if you're continuing the fight, then as the opposite fighter, I'm going to continue the fight. Where, like I said, I think Malott was just a little bit too proper. Mike Malott was too Canadian and was like, okay, sorry, we're going to give you guys some space.
The freaking post-fight interview was hilarious. Yeah, kneeing him in the junk was the game plan was working really well. I definitely would be interested to talk to Kevin Holland after this. I'm a big Kevin Holland fan. I know he's had his ups and downs, but I typically enjoy watching him fight. So I would like to hear his side of the story and hear how bad it was and what was kind of going on between him and the ref and him and the doctor and whatnot from his point of view. Just because, I feel like maybe he was stalling a little bit there towards the end, which like vet move where he's like, I definitely want this fight to continue, but I need this extra minute and a half between the rounds to recover. Like play the vet card, like stall it out. Maybe that's what was going on there. Also like this is on the commission and the ref and that doctor to not allow that to happen too.
Yeah, and well, just going back to what you said about the point too, with the point taken on Drew Dober versus the point not taken here. I also think some of that might have had to do with Miragliotta was like under the heat from the audience at that time after his
stoppage. Yeah.
Well, no, with who is it? Kyle Nelson and Fevela.
Yeah.
He stopped the fight and then didn't stop the fight, and literally the whole crowd was booing. Like the second they announced Dan Miragliotta on the,
everybody booed. I wasn't sure it was that or the Jasmine fight.
Yeah,
they were pretty unhappy about that too.
To take a point from Mike Malott in that moment when he's Captain Canada, you're going to take a point from him there. I think some of that might have had to play into his mind of like, I don't want to get like attacked here.
Yes, I get it. But also it's Canadians. Like this isn't Brazil. You'll be fine. They might boo you. It's all right. But
it comes down.
No, like they might wag their finger at you. No, I honestly, I'm disappointed there. Like you shouldn't fall victim to that as a ref. It is your job. And that's why I think the right answer is to take the pressure off the refs by not giving them the option of it being their decision. Oh, there's an illegal blow. There's a nut shot. There's an eye poke. We take a point. Sorry. Doesn't matter if your false start in football was an accident or not. You still get a penalty.
Even the commentators, they were arguing on the Drew Dober fight, saying they're like, whoa, you can't just take a point because it takes him this long to recover. And I'm like, isn't that more reason to take a point? Because that's showing that he's not capable. Well, he's actually incapacitated by this shot. He's needs the time to recover. So I think that's a more valid reason to take a point versus, well, and it's still a valid reason to take a point if it happens 2 times in a row. But I'm like, I can still very much understand why if somebody needs, Preplock took almost like 4 to 5 minutes. He was taking a long time to recover as well. When you need to take it that much time, I can understand why a point's taken in that situation too.
Yeah, no, 100%. If it's bad, you should get more points taken. But and yeah, maybe this is the case, but there shouldn't be any consulting. It should be very clear cut. Yeah, like if there is a flag on a play in football, guys, I don't even watch football and I know this. there's a certain penalty that is given depending on what the call is, right? There should be a certain penalty provided in the rule book based on whatever the foul is. Like, the only exception to that, in my opinion, should be like an action variance. Like maybe we kick at the same time or something like that, or you're shooting and you run into a knee, like that makes it not really an illegal blow anymore, you know? But beyond that, I think it should just be set. It should just be set rules, you know? Like we take a point if there's a low blow. There would be a lot less low blows.
We brought it up in the past that Jim Miller's talked about it, where he's like, he's had the most fights in the UFC. He's never poked anybody in the eye. And I'm like, same with me. I'm like, I've had 20 fights at this point. I've never had an eye poke. I've never kneed anybody on the ground or like done anything unintentional, where I'm like, it makes sense. Like, let's take a point if it happens.
I'm not saying they can't refer to each other, Christian. Like, I understand that they're like, they can refer to each other, but I'm assuming there is at least, there's not so much freedom for the ref where they can decide whether or not to provide any penalty whatsoever during a foul, correct? Like they can decide not to call the foul. I know that happens in football, but I'm saying, but like there's a rule set, right? For if this is a foul, it gets a penalty. There should never be no penalty for a foul. Like, I just don't think that should be an option, especially if it is such a big deal. There should be a commemorative jacket for fighters who've never eye poked. 100%.
John Jones doesn't get one.
He doesn't get one. We definitely should move on from this. I feel like we've beat this dead horse so many times talking about fouls and fence grabs and all the things we think. But I definitely want to get to this next fight because I can't remember who made the comment earlier, but I definitely disagree that you can call this fight a robbery. I think this fight was insanely close. I would not have been upset if Chito Vera won the decision, and I was not upset that Amin Zahabi won the decision. I thought it was 1-1 pretty clearly going into the third, and that third round was anybody's fight. I thought Chito looked really sharp. He was definitely landing the cleaner shots, but man, there's something about a guy that just comes forward and throws. And Zahabi had Chito hurt as well in that fight. Like it, I actually have not seen the scorecards to see which rounds were given. Did you look to see if it was, did everybody have it 1-1 going into the?
Yeah, I did not see the scorecards on that one. I will say, I think both of them are kind of traditionally slow starters, and we got to see that in the first round of they kind of not a lot happened. So that's a hard round to score just due to inactivity. I still gave it to Amin. Second round, Chito really started opening up at the beginning. But then at the end of the round, Amin came back and had his moments too, where I'm like, in a Canadian crowd in front of Canadian judges at the end of the round, he had a big moment too. I'm like, I could understand how you could kind of like, I still gave that round to Chito, but I can understand how like in that moment with that's what you see at the end of the round, how you end up leaning as a hobby for the second round. And then third round, like you said, an absolute barn burner, super close. I did side that one was a hobby. We were shocked at the scorecards.
No, I was a little surprised. I assumed that the round in question was the third round, but every single judge gave the third to Zahabi. So actually the one round that flipped it for Sal D'Amato to give the fight to Chito Vera was round 1, which was a close round. I did score it for Zahabi as well. I agree with you there, as did Mike Bell and who's this guy? Jake Maxim. I was like, I don't know this guy. Jake Maxim was the third judge. I was surprised that was the round in question was round 1 and not round 3. I thought round 3 was a very close round, but yeah, everybody agreed across the board that round 3 went to Zahabi. So interesting.
You know, I thought that was, I gave 1 and 3 to Zahabi, and I think that I was happy with the decision on that one.
Yeah. I did as well.
Zahabi's like the biggest up and coming 37-year-old we have right now. And I love it for him. I just love the run that he's on. If he does get the O'Malley fight, definitely a very hard fight for him. But I love that call out for him.
Yeah. I mean, it does so much for him. Like you said, like definitely not a spring chicken here. I think that's a good call. You don't waste time, because if you have any title aspirations at this point of having a title shot at 37 years old, you can't slow roll it. You can't take your time. So
okay, I think he's on like a 7 or 8 fight win streak right now against Cheeto and Aldo and Pedro Munoz and like I think Javid Basharat.
Pete Javid is a good
Huge names on that list. It's not like he's beating nobodies. I'm like, had a super impressive run for being 37 at this point. Like and especially in the 135-pound division. That's why it's mind-blowing to me. I'm like, you see this happen at heavyweight where the older guys, they're able to still do well. But to be at a smaller weight and still be so successful right now at an older age is just, I'm a huge Amin Zahabi fan.
Christian is not an Amin Zahabi fan. I disagree with this. He definitely did some damage to Cheeto. Cheeto was on skates for a second there, had him moving back a lot. I don't think it was enough to win him back the second round, but he still did some damage there in that second round for sure. And just visually, it looks better. Like if you almost get finished at the end of the round, that looks worse than if you almost get finished in the middle of the round and you recover and you come back and maybe even win the last 45 seconds of the round. Like that visually makes the round a lot closer.
It's always the end of the rounds that stick in the judge's head. So that's why I said even the second round, I can see like in some way why a judge might give it to Amin, but I would definitely give it to Cheeto. But I'm like, when you have such a strong finish to a round, in your home country, I can see why a judge would give it to you in the second round too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, if they had scored that third round for Cheeto, I would not have been upset. I thought it was insanely. I really did think he was landing a little bit sharper, but like Zahabi does a good job making fights dirty. He's not as crisp as some of the other guys in this division, but and Javid's another example of that. Javid is crisp. He is super accurate. He's a sniper on the feet. Sometimes like the messier guy can get it done in those exchanges. And we saw the same thing with Cheeto. Honestly, I was really impressed with the output from Cheeto. Sometimes I think Cheeto he's a waiter, he waits for his big shots. And I don't always like how he fights, but I actually thought he fought this fight really well. He had a lot of output, really nice kicks, some really close, like front kicks up the middle, like maybe grazing Zahabi's nose a little bit. So this was just a banger for me.
I think this one was one where the fans just won. It's just a fun fight in general. A good fight for both guys. I'm a huge fan of Cheeto too. Like I didn't want to see either one of them lose in this, but like I said, I think the fans won in this one. And I'm like the co-main event. I'm like the fans were all crying, or not the one right before that. The fans were all crying where Jasmine, like hard to watch.
No, and I love Jasmine. She's a friend of mine, super awesome. I really did think that this was her fight to win. I was wrong. Manon looked really good. She landed a beautiful shot. It was so well timed. Jasmine kind of had her face kind of right in there. Manon like kind of snaps the lead hand down, super crisp, 2 over the top. And I can't argue with the stoppage. I know Jasmine was not happy with it, but I think when she watches it back, she probably will agree. Like she may not have been like out, but there wasn't like you weren't seeing her start to move into an offensive position,
No, I 100% agree with the stoppage. And I said the exact same thing after the fight. I'm like, Jasmine is going to watch the tape and be like, okay, I get it. Just in the moment, like sometimes people get knocked out and then they don't even know they got knocked out. So I'm like, I'm assuming it's a situation like that. She was just out of it mentally, obviously just took some pretty hard strikes to the head and just didn't really know, I guess, how bad the situation was. It did look bad from the outside. The stop was 100% justified. It was just, I wanted to see that. Like you said, I had a lot of hopes for her. I really felt like this was her title opportunity. If she won this fight, then she probably was going to get that shot. So another one of, for some reason with Canada, all of our prospects, like she's 37 years old too. I'm like another one who's a little bit older. Yeah. Another older prospect of Canada.
Yeah.
I was joking.
Sweet spot, apparently.
I'm like, I'm Canada's youngest prospect at 30 right now.
How old is Mike Malott?
I think he's up there too. He surprised me with his age too when I saw it last night.
Oh, also this, like, I owe Dave an apology because Cheeto is apparently way more famous than I thought he was, because he literally more people cheered for him than the Canadian. I like Cheeto a lot. I didn't know he was in that like stardom status area.
Mike Malott's not too old, but he's 33.
Okay, 33.
Yeah. I just remember Holland was younger than him, and I was like, wait, Kevin Holland's younger than Mike Malott? I was like, I just saw Mike Malott as like a prospect in my head, and Kevin is a vet, where that shocked me even.
Just because Kevin Holland has so many fights.
Oh, yeah.
He's been in the UFC that long. He just would fight 5 times a year.
Fights every other weekend, so it makes it easy.
Oh, and here it is. We can't possibly get through a show. No, I would love to see them fight. I think all the exciting fights for Dakota are. I will say the PFL picked up some UFC vets. What was it? Viviane Araujo and Ariane Lipski. I think both of those are very interesting fights for Dakota. I think the PFL has some makings for some interesting matchups for her this year. So we will see. We'll see if they do those matchups.
I think the Lipski fight could be interesting. The Araujo fight, I think, is pretty one-sided Dakota's way, but I think Lipski might be able to, we might see a little bit more of a striking battle there, know?
Yeah, I think Dakota beats both of them pretty handily, but Lipski has some tools. She's tough and she's big.
Yeah, she's big.
Strong, big flyweight. Dude, I still don't know how Charles Jourdain makes 135. It's a shock to me, but I love him at bantamweight. Like, just the flying knees, like the height that he can get on flying knees. He's like, what is he, like 5'10", 5'11" at 135? I might be exaggerating. I don't actually know the stats, so if anybody wants to drop it in the comments, feel free. But he just looks so massive to me at 35. I really like him here. He's always been a flashy, fun guy for me, but I feel like at 35, he just has a different danger element.
Oh, yeah. No, I love him at 35. And like those flying knees were just like you said, it looks like the Super Mario. Like, he just gets so much height whenever he does it. And even that guillotine was nice technique, went high elbow with it, was able, there's nothing better than a high elbow guillotine. I'm like, once you get there, I'm like, the only defense is to give up position. I'm like, you rolled a bottom mount to be able to defend that. And if you can even defend it that way, sometimes if they have a good guillotine, you're still not defending it that way. So once he got high elbow and he had that in deep, it was just you could see it on his face. He was smiling the whole time. He knew it was over and it was clean.
Yeah, no, that's the best feeling. I love a good high elbow. And honestly, he even at 45, I know Groovy kind of lost his pants in that fight, and I feel for him. I think that's led to him getting choked. But guillotine Groovy Lando, that's a good win too. He's definitely got a lot of. He's a multifaceted fighter. He definitely has a lot of abilities to finish. And speaking of finishes, Kyle Nelson totally finished Matt Frevola in that first round, and that fight should have been over.
Yeah, there's 3 seconds left in the first round when it was stopped. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what Mergliato was thinking, because it's not like it was just one of the commission refs. He's a seasoned UFC ref. He's done this a bunch. He didn't wait till he heard the bell. And I don't know, just you could tell everybody, the crowd thought he won. Kyle Nelson thought he won. Even the production crew, you could see around the arena, it already said the monster. Everybody thought that the fight was over, except for Dan Mergliata in that moment. And it's just rough to watch.
Yeah, no, that's a big mistake. We've been, honestly, some of the long time refs have been making some pretty big error. Herb's had a couple pretty solid errors lately too. I don't know if they're getting overworked a little. Maybe they need a weekend off. Maybe that's what it is. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, that fight should not have continued. Frevola was done. It was really fun the rest of the fight, but I feel like I kind of felt for Kyle Nelson because he went to just blew out his arms almost trying to finish Matt Frevola, did get the finish, and then had to kind of recover. Like you saw him, he arguably maybe lost a lot of the second round just because he was recovering from that first round. He was clearly tired.
Oh yeah. I'm like, just, I don't know, the fact that the fight continued after that is such a huge thing of like, one, you might have had a little bit of an adrenaline dump of like, whew, okay, that's over. Like we're done. And then it's like, no, we still have.
Oh, she's frozen. Gillian, no, come back. It seems if I just click her a couple times, she comes back. So where does Frevola go from here? Probably back to not fighting for a year. He's been pretty inactive. And from what I understand, also kind of picky. I guess I don't know about other people, but I know Grant has called out Frevola, or has wanted to fight Frevola, and he has not wanted to fight. So I don't know. Switching to the phone. But yeah.
I don't know what's up with the Wi-Fi or the technical difficulties we're having today, man.
It's been weird lately too. I don't know. Do you have Comcast?
I do.
Comcast. We'll blame Comcast. Yeah, I feel like Frevola is not a super active guy.
Yeah, but what I was saying is Matt's poor brain of being TKO'd essentially and then having to get up and fighting 2 more rounds too. I'm like, not healthy for a concussed brain to do that.
Especially a guy who's been knocked out 1, 2, 3, 4 times before that. So if we include the Kyle Nelson fight, he's been knocked out in 5 of his 6 losses. So like, is that the right thing for this fighter either? But I don't know. SGS, where does Matt Frevola go from here? He's 5-6 in the UFC at one of the deepest weight classes. Doesn't look good, you know?
The only thing he has to save him right now is he's fun to watch. I'm like, so they might, yeah, they might keep him around for 1 or 2 more just because they can get an exciting fight out of him. But with a record like that, it's like,
and the record of the guy he just lost to, Kyle Nelson's 5-5 in the UFC. So it's like, all right, you got 2 guys with 500 or worse records in the UFC in a super deep weight class. One of them, who do you think's making more money? Because that's the question. Who gets cut? The guy who's making more money, but losing.
Yeah, I'm like, I wouldn't know necessarily with both because they both aren't necessarily like big names outside of, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like even that can be such a deciding factor of like, if you don't really have necessarily the best record, but you're a personality. Like if you could be a Patty Pimblett in there, then you're still gonna you still might get an extra fight or 2. Or
but how can you be Patty Pimblett if you fight once a year?
Yeah,
you know, like people just they forget about you. There's too many fights in between, and it's like and also with Kyle Nelson was a 45er. This was his first fight at lightweight. Like you're getting I think it doesn't look good for him for sure. I guess it's not his first fight at lightweight. Or no, it is his first fight at lightweight.
You might see a different fighter too, though. You know, he had a good performance. Obviously, he had a TKO in the first round, and like we've seen Jourdain switch divisions, and now he's having a little bit of success. Maybe it's like he just, even with me, I'm like, I'm having a lot more success now that I'm at the 115-pound division. I'm like, we might just need to make a little adjustment there. So it might be a good move for him to be at 55 now.
No, that's a good point. Like I said when Joel Alvarez was going up, I was like, I don't want to assess him yet at 170 because he might be a totally different fighter. And maybe this loss ages really, really well for Matt Frevola. We don't know. I hated this. I hated just the bald head, no beard, mustache. Bring back the beard, Kyle Nelson, please. We miss the beard. That's all. That's all. Public service announcement.
I
hated it. If you like it, that's okay. It's your face. But we miss the beard.
Probably I want to say impressive performance, but also an unimpressive performance from the B side of this is Arichi Long just a clean shot.
Yeah.
Like, but from Gibson, you're throwing a naked. You switch to southpaw, then throw a naked inside kick. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
I think Cody Gibson's issue and what made the UFC want to bring him back too is he's all offense, no defense, which can make for fun fights, but it can also make for some really short fights and a lot of losses for a guy.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about it off air, the Barlow and DeJordan. I'm like, another fight, very fun fight, all offense, zero defense from both guys. Made for a great fight. But I'm like, Gibson, that was just like, you left yourself so vulnerable, so open, and Arichi Long just took, like, it was just one clean right hand. That was it. That was all it took. Like I said, the Barlow and Santos fight, whew, that was such a fun fight from start to finish. Those boys did not care about their brain health. They just wanted to put on a fun fight, and they did it.
No, neither guy has ever heard of a takedown. Barely a kick was thrown. I think Barlow had some nice knees. So Santos is he trains at ATT on the other side of the mat with the bigger boys. So I didn't realize he was their teammate for a while. But no, super good guy. Like very talented and yeah, absolute dog. Like he's in that fight. He's super fun to watch. I think he was 0-1 in the UFC before this with Ozzy Diaz. So it's very clear the kind of matchups they want for Jordan Santos because Ozzy Diaz is another like pretty much just strictly a boxer in the cage. And honestly, like just keep matching him up like that, especially at 85. Like there's a need for some exciting prospects as well. Yeah, just match him up with more boxers at 85. I don't know who next, but yeah, I would watch him fight like that every time.
That's why I feel like the UFC needs to, well, and they do typically. They know what they're getting out of these fighters. You know, they know that you're never probably going to make your title run with that kind of style necessarily, being that reckless and aggressive, but you're going to be able to put a lot of good, fun fights together. So let's match you with the other person that's in the same boat as you know? So I'm like, I really feel like we're able to see that last night where both these guys, Barlow defensively had me terrified at points. Just he carries his chin so high when he's throwing punches. And Santos obviously got caught several times too. But I'm like, neither one of them cared at all about anything. They just kept walking forward the whole time. And I'm like, easily fight of the night for me there.
Yeah. No, it was an absolute banger. I think the only other fight that was in the fight of the night contention spot was Zahavi and Cheeto. Wow, very technical. This fight took the cake for me for just excitement and back and forth. I honestly, and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, I definitely think the UFC knew what they were doing with Kyle Prebolek and Drew Dober as well. I kind of flopped on this because I thought this would be I thought Drew was going to have a more dominant performance, to be honest, and good on him for recognizing the position he was in because I did think he was losing on the scorecards. And then losing the point on top of that, like that's just the veteran in Drew Dober is, I'm in a bad position. I need to finish. And I'm going to finish.
Dober knew he needed the kill and went for it. Like, and I'm actually just looking now. Like that was actually the fight of the night was Dober and Prebolek.
I mean, that was a banger too. So this prelim card really did deliver. Yeah. Bruno Silva looked awesome. He is a really well-rounded guy. I do think he's a little undersized for the division, which is something you just can't help at flyweight because you can't go down. But because he's a small guy and Park looked big. I think Park is in a difficult position though. I feel like he made a huge jump in competition to take on that short notice opportunity against Taira. And it's really hard to fight backwards after that. And he's also not super, super young. He's 29. I actually thought he was a lot younger than that. He's older than I thought. And I think he's now in a position where it's like he's got to fight ranked guys because he was fighting ranked guys. But maybe going 0-2 against the ranked guys, maybe they'll give him somebody outside the rankings for a little bit because he was doing really, really well when he was kind of fighting up the ranks. And then they just went from Carlos Hernandez to Taira, who's a top contender in that division. That's a heck of a jump.
Yeah, definitely a huge jump, but I'm like, I don't think that's correct, but I also think that like he's at the age where you got to start testing him. You know, he's at when you're like 29, 30, like these are the points where it's like if you're not ready, you're not going to be ready. So it like he is in that time period where he does kind of need to be thrown these harder fights or just figure out where like he might just be someone who fits on the roster in some different place, you know, where it's not necessarily we're going to keep on pushing him up the rankings, but he can still be a roster guy.
Yeah, no, that's true, especially at flyweight where you need roster guys. Like the bulk of the division is in the top 15, you know, so it's like they do need guys like that. So I think that's fair. Who did we not talk about?
None of the girls, Luciano Oliveira and we talked about it off the Corden and Lisboa was also they're both interested. They're both interesting enough fights. They were both pushing the pace. You know, like I always have very low expectations for the 135-pound division. So Cordon and Lisboa, they both were there to fight, which I'm like I love regardless. I'm like at least you're making the fight exciting. You're bringing the action. And it doesn't matter how technical it is sometimes, where Lisboa just kind of made it ugly more than anything else. She was getting aggressive with strikes, kind of clenching. Anytime she did get the takedown, Cordon was just able to stand up. And then once Cordon opened up a little bit more and was able to find her strikes it was like the end of the second. And then the third, she kind of saw her path to victory already for a good knockout debut.
Yeah, I feel like it was similar with Luciano. Like the Luciano fight was very similar with that. I really like her. I just think she's kind of adorable with her little space buns and everything. But she was trying to be a little too pretty, I think, that first round. She wanted everything to be super clean and crisp. And Oliveira was just like, I'm coming for you. And she landed some pretty hard shots. And you saw Luciano kind of have to adjust. And the commentary team said at one point too, they're like, she can't get away from what's made her like good, which is her aggression. And then you saw her start to push it out a little bit more. And the takedowns were just flawless. Like I think Oliveira was a little too wild. And that's what made the takedown so easy for Luciano. But she found them super easily, just timing them off of Oliveira kind of lunging in.
And then Oliveira also didn't have much to offer her when she reached the ground. So I think like when she was there, she was like, all right, I think she got back up once and she took her right back down because she's like, all right, we know where we need to be. And then the second time she tried to get up, she just hopped on her back for that rear naked choke real quick.
No, I agree. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look something up. I'm like half listening to you, half not. Sorry. I was trying to look something up for next week, but I love an early card. Love an early card for next week. But yeah, no, I agree. I felt like it. Why not take the path of least resistance?
So I'm like, what are we complaining about this?
I love an early card, Sean. I know some people have day jobs on Saturdays, which I feel for you guys, but I like going to bed early. It's the reason it's so early is it's in Abu Dhabi. That's why. And the fact of the matter is them putting the show at Abu Dhabi time is not going to result in enough ticket sales to justify not putting it like if they did it like super, super late, I feel like it would be, sorry, I'm flip-flopping that with my words. They need to justify being able to sell tickets in Abu Dhabi instead of doing it like late night here. So it's at like what did they do to was it the Australian fans where it was like start at like 4 or 5 in the morning there? Like, doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, I bet the UK people are loving this. Jake's over here staying up till 6 in the morning every Saturday trying to watch fights like a psycho.
No, I'm always down for an early card. I'm always down for the daytime cards. Even last night, I'm like, I actually stayed up till the main event. And then when I looked at the clock and saw how much time, like what time it was, I was like, holy shit, I cannot believe I am up this late. I'm like, it was almost 11 o'clock by the time I went to bed. And I'm like, that is way past my bedtime.
What's your usual bedtime, G?
Um, people think I'm joking when I say this, but usually 7 or 8.
I don't blame you. Sleep is important.
If I can, like, usually Tuesday and Thursdays, I train a little bit later. I train at 5, so not too late, but I train at 5 p.m. So when I get home, I'm usually up a little bit still. So those days I usually go to bed at 8. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm in bed at like 7 p.m.
Yeah, I don't blame you, to be honest. It's rough out here. We need 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing too about this card. Izzy's right. This is a rough pay-per-view. So if they're going to ask us to spend $90 on this pay-per-view, they better not also be asking us to stay up until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. Because we're not doing both. That's for damn sure.
Especially not to watch that co-main event.
Like, but she's hating. Listen, I do want to see that fight.
I do too.
I pay $90 to see that fight. And that's how I feel. I kind of feel that way about every fight on the main card. Like Volkov and Almeida. That's actually a decently interesting heavyweight matchup, but it's not a $90 heavyweight matchup.
No, I agree. It's not the strongest pay-per-view. Obviously, I do have a lot of interest in that co-main to see who's going to be holding my belts until next year, when I get it. But yeah, I don't even. Yeah, just the whole, even like obviously Tom Aspinall, heavyweight champ, has been looking great, but I'm like Cyril Gane. I feel like after his performance against John Jones, I feel like it took so much, I guess, aura away from him. It was just so effortless for John, and now I'm like not as hyped about this matchup now.
No, I'm not. I'm never hyped when Cyril Gane fights, and I hate that for him. But $26 over there, dude! I cannot wait for Paramount. It's gonna be awesome. Can't wait to never pay $90 again. But yeah, I'm just not excited to see him fight. There's. Dave said it best when we were talking about this on the Tuesday show. And he was kind of saying the same thing we are, where it's like, there's something about a guy that just like, he doesn't go out and fight. Like we've seen, we love watching Dominic Reyes fight, right? Because even though he lost to John Jones, man, like he might've won that fight. He was there to fight. Like we love to see that, like these guys that go out and with a willingness to at least try to win. It just looked like he didn't even try. It was
no, exactly. Yeah, I don't like you said. It's just like the whole card. It's kind of like I'm interested in it, but almost feels like a PFL card.
No, it's bad. But no, I'm kidding. Sean, it's not that the card is bad. It's just not a pay-per-view card.
Exactly. Like, it doesn't have that star power, that draw, those like big fights. And like obviously the main event and co-main event are they're title fights. You can't say they're not big fights, but they're not like, I don't know, they're not huge. I don't know. I'm not like super interested in these even the one in my division, I don't think it's going to be a necessarily exciting fight.
Yeah. It's going to be a really technical fight. I want to see the grappling exchanges. I think for us, it'll be fun to see just the technical ability on the ground from both these girls, but like we're definitely not getting any Santos versus Barlow fights on this card, And
the prelims maybe. I don't know. On the prelims we got Klein versus Rebecca. I'm like, I like that one.
I stand corrected. Azamat Murzakanov versus Alexander Rakic. That's going to be a fun fight. And I think that's going to be the most fun fight on the main card, in my opinion. I do.
No, I agree with you.
And I like Umar. No, I'm not excited. I'm interested. Is he like? I'm interested. I agree with you. I think Umar can be a champion. I do think he will probably get it done against Mario. But Mario Batista has been kind of this like dark horse in the division that everybody keeps counting out to. So I'm interested to see what happens, but I don't think this fight is going to be like a super exciting fight, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm conveying my feelings appropriately or if it sounds like I'm just dumping all over this pay-per-view. But
no, I feel the exact same way though. I'm just like there's fights that I'm interested in. They're just not going to be like, you don't expect like a banger out of them. You don't expect like it's going to be a technical matchup. Even I'm like Batista's when he wins, I'm like his last like they're good fights, but they're not like great fights, you know? Like I'd expect this fight to go a little bit more Umar's way, honestly. But I'm like still at that, like you're getting a lot of wrestling where I'm like, I don't know, it's just not going to be like we're not going to get like a Justin Gaethje Max Holloway kind of fight on this night, you know? Like,
which is funny because on the prelims, which are free, we are like Ludwig and Rumbetsky is going to be a freaking.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's what I was saying earlier. I'm like, that's the only fight that I see on this card that I'm like, oh, that's a banger. 100%.
Ikram and the Iron Turtle, that's a fun fight. That like
I guess I'm not as familiar with Ikram as of right now.
So, I mean, he fought Khamzat before he was in the UFC, and just like for context, Khamzat could not take Ikram down. So like he's got good takedown defense, he's got power. He can be reckless, but in a very fun, very technical way. And then the Iron Turtle is like he's just like an old dog that always there to fight. I know he's not always the most exciting because he does have crazy good control on the ground, but like I always like watching him fight. And I think Ikram will not be easy to get down. So I think it makes the fight very interesting. Nathaniel Wood and Jose Delgado is a fun fight. The heavyweight fight is actually fun too. Love Chris Barnett.
I think that fight's exciting tuu.
I'm gonna butcher his last name. We'll just call him Hamdi because that's his first name. He's fun. Like he's a goer. But like, yeah, Jake is like Noche was a better card for free.
Arguably, yeah.
You could argue that. You could argue that. But it's like, is he on it? Hang on, I'm gonna pull this up. I keep pulling it up on Google and I forget that sometimes they don't have the order right. So let me go to the actual app so I can get the full lineup. Yeah, that's right. I forgot Nasrat Half-Pressed and Quillen Selkilled is the first fight of the night. That's an interesting matchup. Nasrat's kind of been around a while. Quillen's had like...
You actually had me frozen for that part, so...
Sorry. Did you hear anything I said?
A little about Nasrat.
Nasrat is fighting Quillen Selkilled, that Australian kid that came in off Contender Series. I think he's got like 2 UFC fights, and Nasrat's like been around a while. It's kind of
Nasrat's a tough fight.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. So I honestly don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like Nasrat should win that off just experience, but
no, I've always been a huge fan of him. Sometimes I don't know how he doesn't put it together because I feel like watching his fights, he's got clean striking, he's aggressive, and then sometimes when he loses, I'm just like what fell apart here?
Yeah, like maybe just not enough like danger or enough tools.
He's on a good streak right now, though. He hasn't lost since 2022. He lost against Dan Hooker and Bobby Green in 2021 and 2022, and then has been on a 5-fight win streak currently. So I'm like, he's on a good little streak right now.
Really close fights, though.
Oh yeah.
I
got two split decisions.
Jared Gordon beat him. Like Jared Gordon won that fight.
I remember even Landon Quinones, he's a boy who's from around here. I remember he got signed kind of short notice for that fight, and it was a close fight where I think honestly, Nasrat's kind of like that what we're talking about with like Frivola, where I'm like, he's excited. I don't know, but he's having a good run. It's just he's able to pull off the win still. He's just it's like exciting fight, but he's not like super decisive or getting the finish all the time.
I thought Ramovich won their fight too. That one was closer than the Jared. I thought Jared Gordon got absolutely robbed in their fight. I really did. I haven't watched it in a while, but I watched it a few times at the time, and I don't know how he lost that fight. Esteban Ramovich, I did score it for him, but that was a very close fight. But yeah, he has these super razor thin fights.
They just happen to go his way more than often, you know?
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know. Quillen is like such a question mark to me. Because I feel like his UFC debut, Jubilee, just has not. He's just not ready for the UFC. He wasn't, you know. And I don't think they're gonna. If he's, I don't know if he is still in the UFC or if he got cut, but I just don't see him winning fights not at lightweight. It's too good of a division. Yanal Ashmouz is like the next step up, where it's like Yanal will beat a few guys, and then he'll lose to a lot of guys. So it's like Quillen is taking the right approach in the division. Like they're just steadily growing him, which is perfect for a 25-year-old with 10 professional fights. I feel like he's exactly where he should be. But it definitely looks like a big jump up from Yanal Ashmouz to Nasrat.
Definitely a big jump, but also I don't like I said, you got to kind of test him at some point. And I feel like Nasrat's a good test. Like he's not someone who is solid all around or who isn't going to make a mistake or who isn't going to let you back in the fight too to make it close. So I'm like, I think that this is a very good test to see if you are ready for that next level, if you are ready for the, like, make that title run, work in the rankings a little bit more. Like Nasrat's a good test.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. It's a good spot for him to be at. I definitely see that. I really like Quillen. I think he's pretty complete. Like he definitely can grapple. That's the thing too, is Nasrat's he loves his like high boxing guard. And so it's like if you're a good wrestler, that's a good guy for you to fight, you know?
Oh yeah.
Easy to get it on the leg. So we'll see if Quillen can kind of put together a good game plan for him. I have no idea, to be honest with you, Izzy. I haven't seen him yet, but that doesn't mean anything. Some guys jump around and stuff, so I honestly don't know. Why weren't you on this card, Gillian? Unplug once.
Why wasn't I on this card? Because Jan won't fight me. That's why. But yeah, so I was offered the card. I was offered at first Shanghai against Jan, and she was injured. Then I was offered Canada, and I was told they were trying to make that matchup work. And then I was told she said no against me. And then I was offered Lucindo for December 13th in the Apex. So that's where we're at. I would have loved to be on this card. Every Canada card, I find myself saying this. So, yeah, it's always rough to watch it. I'm like, rough to not be there and watch it. Last night, all I could think, it's just going through my head. I'm like, it should be me tonight. I should be fighting tonight. Even when I was watching the Shanghai card a couple weeks ago, I'm like, it should be me tonight. I should be out there. So it's always rough to watch regardless, because it's been since May since I've been in there. December's a long time to wait.
Yeah, I feel that. That's maybe they just forgot that you're Canadian. Maybe that's what's happening. They're like, yeah, she's a Florida girl.
Well, Brendan Allen was allowed to be Canadian, so
fair enough. He's a deep South boy too. He's a Louisiana boy.
Walking out with the Canada flag, I was like, what is this?
Did he really?
Yeah, he represented Canada last night because he says his grandparents on one side are Canadian, so he wanted to represent them. And
technically, I should walk out with a Polish flag.
Yeah, so he wore red and white last night and represented Canada walking out. Interesting.
Gillian keeps her hair red to remind the UFC brass that she's Canadian. It's the real reason.
Exactly.
That's the real reason. All right, guys, we went a little bit longer today because, well, we had time. But we join us Tuesday. We'll get into this pay-per-view and really break it down, whether we are going to spend $90 on it or not. We will get into this card later this week, Tuesday, 1 to 3 on our live show. Hopefully we'll have some guests for you guys. I actually don't even know yet. I should probably work on that. We'll have some guests for you guys, maybe a handful of people from this last weekend. But we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. You got anything for the people, Gillian?
I don't think so right now. I think we're just like getting into fight camp. We don't got anything going on over here.
I know, we're boring. Everybody's fighting. Guys, I'm fighting, Grant's fighting, and Jillian's fighting all in an 8-day period.
We just need to find Dave a fight. So if anybody has an opponent or a venue or something, then we'll be in talks.
Dave and I are gonna, if you guys would buy a Fight Bananas Fight Week t-shirt, let us know because we will make some. It'll just be like me and Grant and G, and maybe we'll put Dave TBA at the bottom. All right, we love you guys. Tune in Tuesday. Go enjoy your Sunday. Hug your kids, all that jazz.